Well, so here I'm driving the all-new Audi A4 diesel. Now we've already done a review of the petrol version of this car and you can check that out in the link that we've mentioned below in the description. Now this all-new diesel comes with a 190 bhp motor, and I have to say that performance really is absolutely mind-blowing. 0 to 100 comes up in a little under 8 seconds. It's a little over 7 seconds, but I prefer saying a little under 8 seconds just to make it sound a little more interesting. But those figures are very impressive and really very inspiring. Now this video review is slightly different from our usual fare. Now we've decided to take this car all the way up to Shimla from Delhi, which is a nice 600 kilometer round trip. And during that time I'll tell you how good this car is on the highway, how good it is in the city, and also tell you if you should consider buying it and investing your money in this car. As soon as you start driving off this car, you will realize what a nice and refined engine this car has. And if you have occupants in the back seat, they'll have a really hard time telling if it's a diesel or a petrol powering the new A4, because the diesel engine really is phenomenal in terms of refinement. And I have to say that in terms of sheer refinement levels, it is definitely better than both the BMW 3 Series as well as the Mercedes C-Class, not only when you start it off from cold, but also when you start revving it up and build some momentum. What also helps refinement in a long way is the 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. And why do I say that? Well, simply because when you are doing speeds in excess of 100 kph on the highway, the engine in 6th gear is spinning at a very low 1500 rpm, and if you put it into 7th gear, it spins at an even lower 1200 rpm. In fact, it feels as if you're just idling the engine and you're still getting a lot of performance. So it really does help improve the flexibility of this engine, that 7-speed gearbox that is, and really makes it feel very refined and very smooth. In fact, it feels a lot more smoother than both its rivals I just mentioned, and also feels a lot more smoother than it already really is. And if you have an infant at home and he or she enjoys sleeping in the car, then this is the car that they will really enjoy sleeping in, because the cabin is very well isolated from all the outside noise. The road noise is minimal. There's absolutely no wind noise. In fact, there's no diesel engine noise also. There's only a very distant murmur which enters the cabin even when you rev this engine hard. In fact, the cabin isolation is so good that you can actually hear a lizard fart inside this cabin. Well, if you prefer to have a relaxed driving affair rather than all-out driving thrills, then the A4 really is a very rewarding car, because it has a very supple ride. And even though you can of course choose the drive select mode over here and choose the dynamic mode to make the suspension feel a little more agile and a little more tighter and a little more stiffer, it doesn't have that overtly harsh edge like the BMW or even the Mercedes to that extent has to its suspension setup. So this one offers you a much more relaxing and a much more comforting ride than both those other cars. Well, in terms of responsiveness from the steering wheel, it is pretty okay. It's a decent steering wheel in terms of feedback. Now, it's not as sharp or as agile like some of its rivals, but that's quite okay, because people who buy these cars essentially buy these cars for the comfort as well as the image, as well as the relaxing drive that these cars have to offer. And really, after a long day in a very boring board meeting, you don't want to be going hammer and tong at the steering wheel, do you? You want to have a nice and relaxing and easy car to drive. So in that sense, the steering wheel of this car is pretty good, and it's quite light to use in its comfort setting. If you even choose the dynamic mode, it is decent in terms of its feedback, and there's also decent weight in it. But yes, as I said, it's not really going to put its rivals to shame. But even then, in isolation, it is decent in terms of feedback, and buyers of Audi cars prefer things to be that way. Now, in terms of performance, this car's engine is like your best friend, because it always seems to have something in reserve and comes up with loads of reserve power to help you when you are stuck, of course, or you want to have that quick acceleration maneuver. And you're never really left wanting for power when you are out on the highway. It really is just shifting a gear down from these pedal shifters over here and getting ahead from that slow-moving vehicle. Well, where the Audi A4 will also be very friendly is with your wallet, because this car delivers exceptionally good fuel efficiency figures in excess of 20 kpl when you're driving it on the highway, and even when we did go up the hills, it dropped down very marginally to about 17.5 overall. Well, so the A4's boot is as good as its other rivals. It's at par in terms of luggage carrying capacity, and as you can see, it's a nice and square-shaped boot. There's minimal intrusion from the suspension, and it's also pretty deep boot, which means if you have a big box to load in, you can simply slide it all the way in. There is a bit of a lip, but all its other rivals also have that loading lip. So in terms of usage as well as practicality, the boot is at par with its other rivals. The back seat of the A4 is as good as its other rivals because you get this huge hump in the floor panel, which the other rivals also have, namely the BMW 3 Series as well as the Jaguar XC and Mercedes C-Class. They all have this huge hump. So the seats in the back are good only for two. You can of course squeeze in a third person, but yes, these seats are best for two. The backrest angle though is pretty good, and you get decent headroom for even someone who is about my height, which is 5'10" for reference. Knee room is decent as well. So overall, it's a decent place to be in if you're chauffeur driven, and you also get a very good view of that very opulent and very posh looking dashboard up ahead. So let's jump in the front seats and see if it is as good to feel and touch as it is to look at. Audi makes absolutely faultless cabins, and it's no different inside the A4. The cabin is absolutely brilliant in terms of quality. Everything here is made from soft materials, and even the lower end of the dashboard, a place a lot of individuals don't pay attention to, is really bolted very strongly together. So it really is a very nice place to sit in. It's also very opulent and very elegant, and you get this sweeping AC vent all across the dash. The ones over here in the middle aren't used for a throw of air, but they do look very cool. It's only the other ones in the center and the one in the corner which actually throw air, but it still looks very cool, still looks very posh, and looks very unique in its class. What also adds to the coolness inside this cabin is the fact that you get Audi's virtual cockpit theme here for the gauges. So you can change the look of the gauges by simply clicking over here, and you can get to see whatever you want. You also get this huge screen over here which has Apple's CarPlay as well as Google Android. And in terms of equipment, this car is loaded to the gills with features as well as technology. So all you need to do is simply head to our website and check out all the features. Now, talking in terms of practicality, it's a good place to be in. You get big door bins which can generally house big 1-liter bottles. There's lots of space over here for your cell phone, wallet and other paraphernalia, and you also get two big cup holders over here right ahead of the driver's seat. So overall, a good place to be for comfort, luxury as well as overall utility. Well, because it's an Audi, everything is electrically adjustable. So you get both seats in the front which are electrically adjustable for height, rake as well as overall lumbar. And you also get a steering wheel which adjusts not only for brake but also for reach. So finding a comfortable driving position over here is really a very breezy affair. Well, what's more, you also get a sunroof if you are someone who really does enjoy those nice and sunny mornings in Delhi. Well, it's not really sunny in Delhi right now, it is raining, but of course you do get a sunroof, and it really does add to a sense of airiness and roominess of the cabin. So really one of the better cabins in this segment, and I will stretch out my neck and say in terms of overall perceived quality levels, it is the Audi which simply outshines all its other rivals. Well, so after driving this car for over 600 kilometers, all I can say is that the new Audi A4 diesel gets an A++ in my book. It's bye for now, and thanks for watching.